was a big eye-opener. And when I say ownership, I just don't mean properties. I mean ownership of your time, ownership of your decisions, ownership of your future. Because money isn't the objective, control is. The ability to wake up and decide how you want your day to go. The ability to build something that will outlive you. The ability to change your family's trajectory. And so what I did is we hear a lot about this concept of generational wealth, which I consider a north to south concept, where I buy a property and then 40 years later, my family will benefit. I buy the property 40 years later, they benefit. That's all good and gravy. But I said, how about we do transformational wealth? What I call transformational wealth is an east to west concept, where I start a business today. I can hire family members. I hired my brother, I do $1 million deal. He gets a 3% commission as a real estate agent. He was able to buy a house for himself and his wife and 6 children. And now they have ownership today. I'm also to hire him so they can pay their bills today. Able to hire his in-laws, they're able to move out of a rental and now they own a duplex. Able to hire my aunt, and she helps with cleaning. My stepmom helps with property management. My nieces and nephews help with cleaning, also friends. And I can transform their lives today, but not only help them financially, but also when my brother walks by a building with his son and has the name KR on the building, he doesn't just say, hey, look, that's your uncle's building. He says, we own part of that building. Because I own the LLCs, I give them a part of equity without giving a financial contribution. Because I want to transform their lives today, not 40 years later. Because people are hurting. And so for me, that was the real win. And everything I'm sharing with you today is what led me to write my memoir, Can't Break Me, releasing May 12, 2026. You can pre-order now. And it's not just about what I achieved, it's about what it took to get there. The mindset, the discipline, the decisions behind the scenes that nobody sees. Because at the end of the day, we all face challenges. We all go through moments that could break us. And I remember the most difficult moment in my life. I was a junior in college, and I had an internship at Credit Suisse. It was the 9th week of my internship. That weekend I went home and I bought my mother and my sister's single mothers, I bought them new appliances, new refrigerator, new washer, dryer, and stove. No more laundromats for them. Because when I came into money, that meant all of my family members benefit. And to celebrate the new chapter, I rented an old limo and took all my nieces and nephews to the arcade. They took them to the Chinese restaurant. And at the buffet, I said, get whatever you want. We were eating fried frog legs. We had orange chicken. We had orange soda. We had Hawaiian punch. We were living the best. And so I was so excited. I went back for that last week of my internship. And they had said, KR, congratulations. You have a full-time offer to work in investment banking at Credit Suisse. So I ran to the payphone outside. I called my mother. I was so excited. I said, Mother, you are not going to believe what just happened. I said, they just gave your son a full-time offer. You know we're going to be rich. And she said, KR, not right now. I said, what do you mean not right now? She said, KR, not right now. I said, this is the best time of our life. I've been working so hard, not right now. She said, Lindell shot your sister 5 times in the face. And so my heart dropped. The phone fell out my hand. It was just dangling from the wire. It was so quiet you could hear a cotton ball drop. And I said, how is this possible? I work so hard. Every time when I'm trying to move forward, it's like something's trying to break me. First, when I went off to Goldman College on a full scholarship, presidential scholarship, my brother, 1 year my junior, went off to prison for attempted murder, 12 to 20 years. I said, I don't understand. It's like every time I move forward, it's like the world's taking more than it's giving. It's trying to break me. And so I gathered myself and went back to Philadelphia because Lindell, the father of my sister's 3 children, had put a hit out on our family. So we had to go into hiding. And so I went back, and thank goodness, after he killed a taxi driver and killed my sister, he turned himself in at a church, and we were able to move forward. But I remember my sister's daughter, she was 4 years old, and she said, "Uncle, don't be strong for me, be strong for my mother." And that really hit me hard. Because at that moment, I had to decide. Because some of my family members went into a deep depression. They didn't want to move forward. I had to decide, am I going to keep fighting or give up? And I knew so much was counting on me. I had a purpose, like you guys have a purpose as financial aid professionals. And I said I had to keep moving forward. So I went back the next week and interviewed at other firms, got offers, had my best academic year at Goldman College, got the President Award, went to go work at Goldman Sachs doing investment banking, went to the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth to get my MBA. And I was very fortunate, and by 2020 at 37, to retire from work and hire family members and write books and tour and share my vision with the world. And so I think that it is so important that we ask ourselves, what is the question? Do you let those moments define you, or do you use them to build something? And so I want to read 2 passages from the book, and then we will take a few questions. Growing up in abject poverty was hard. I am blessed to have made it out of Philadelphia alive. Some of my family members and friends did not make it to the age of 27. As I mentioned earlier, my brother Charles Washington, 1 year my junior, went to prison for attempted murder my first year at Goldman College. He finished his sentence, but as of this writing, he is back in the system. It blows my mind that we are only 1 year apart, and we grew up in the same household, yet ended up on such different paths. This has made me ask tough questions. How did our parents and community fail or help us? Does the most blame lie with institutions in our community, or my parents, or both? What went wrong or right? Are there any practical solutions to help children who grew up in similar situations? Am I an anomaly? Did I get lucky? I like to believe I got disciplined. Most people think outcomes come from where you started. What I've learned is outcomes come from decisions and structure. Two people can come from the same environment and end up in completely different lives. Thank you, guys.